Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, bringing you this podcast of all Uriah Heep studio recorded music from the very beginning through where they currently are and the next thing they'll record and the thing after that and the thing after that, and then some surprise bonus tracks and stuff that you may not be aware of. Having a lot of fun with this, guys, and from the feedback that I'm getting from the show, it sounds like you guys are too. Otherwise, you wouldn't keep listening, probably. So thank you guys very much for being here. Also, thank you to Uriah Heep, especially to Mick Box for supporting the podcast, for endorsing it and saying, yes, you can do this, because I really wouldn't have done it without that blessing. So that means a lot to me. And we are here today to talk about the second song on the Sweet Freedom album called Stealin'. It's one that a lot of people are very familiar with, whether you associate it with Uriah Heep or just know the song. A lot of people seem to know the song and go, oh, Uriah Heep did that, cool. And then they start getting into Uriah Heep, which is a lot of times how people find bands. They'll hear a single or they'll hear a song in, say, a movie or a television show or something like that where it's been licensed, maybe a commercial. And they'll really like the song. They'll find out who did it. And then they'll say, well, if I like that, I probably will like something else from this band. And then they become huge fans when they see the vast scope of work that a band has done, especially a band like Uriah Heep. And this is a great song because it really has a lot of the classic Uriah Heep elements with the great vocal, just the beauty in the music and the harmonies and everything. It's just a great song. And we're just going to get right into it because why wouldn't we? Here is Stealin' by Uriah Heep. So far, if you're not familiar with this song, you can tell a couple things right off the bat. Obviously, it's going to be a keyboard-oriented song. We've got a good bass lick, which tells me that it's going to be a shuffle. Not because it's a good bass lick, but because of how it's being played. I can tell it's going to be a shuffle. And it really sounds great. I love the little bit of air that we hear in here, that tape noise that just, everything's so digital and clean now. You wouldn't hear that nowadays. And even with, like I've said on every Monday's episode for this show, and in the beginning when I was doing my thanks on every episode, I talk about Instant Dialogue Cleaner IDC. And one of the things that it clears out is that tone. But to listen to this kind of music with that ambient elements that were used to being a part of the signature sound of an album, I actually like that they left that in here. I think it's really cool to be able to feel like I'm listening to it on an LP as opposed to, an MP3 like I'm listening to now, because they chose to keep that. It was a really good decision. But right now you just got a warm feeling. We're going to be told a story, because that's how, when a song is set up this way, a lot of times when it's set up in this sort of, bluesy, ba-boom, 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 you know that there's going to be a good story coming, because that's more the point of a piece like this than the music itself a lot of times. In this case, we're going to get a great combination of both, though.
Take me across the water, 'cause I need some place to hide. I done the rancher's daughter, and I sure did hurt his pride.
So right off the bat, we're hearing another story that's very similar to one that we've heard before. If you think back to the lyrics of Gypsy we're talking about fathers who take an active interest in their daughters' sex lives. And I suppose rightfully so. I don't have any children, so I don't know what that's like, but I can kind of imagine. And, maybe you should get to know the father first a little bit before you get into this kind of trouble. I don't know. But in this case, we find our character in a similar position as we did in Gypsy. The classic farmer's daughter story is one that we know well, and it's a good story. I mean, it holds up. So I kind of like that they're twisting this one a little bit for the song, and let's just see where it goes.
Well, there's 100 miles of desert lies between his hide and mine. I don't need no food, no water, no, 'cause I'm running out of time. Fightin, killing, wine and women, gonna put me to my grave. Running, hiding, losing, crying, nothing left to save.
Nice addition of the hi-hat in this section. And it sounds to me like it's being played by foot pedal only, because I'm not hearing the attack of a stick, just that sort of gentle cymbal sound that you get when you just clasp the cymbals together with the foot pedal. You can see that it's heading towards something at this point because everything's getting a little bit heavier. You're getting a little more power and emotion out of the vocal. And you kind of feel a little bit of desperation in the situation of the character here. Just kind of like, I'm running out of time. I don't even have time to eat or drink or anything. I gotta move. And it's pretty cool. It gives you a little bit of edge, a little bit of sense of emergency here to the situation. And as the music builds as well around that vocal, you get a double dose of it because the music's getting more intense. You feel something's about to happen here musically, and you're getting the intensity of the story. So I really like when things are so well crafted together like that, because music and lyrics are often two completely different components. And in this case, I think they work together very well.
But my life.
It's a very interesting lyric. I stood on a ridge and shunned religion, thinking the world was mine. And you can really replace religion with anything. To me, it's just that sort of youthful defiance where we think we've got it all figured out. We know what's going on. We get it. And we can be successful and survive it and prosper and all that because we know how to do it. When really, we don't know what the hell we're talking about most of the time. It always reminds me of that. When you look back on things and say, boy, if I only knew then what I know now. And here's that opportunity where you could have learned, but instead we stand strong. We got to be tough. We got to, we're adults now, even though we're really not, kind of thing. I don't know if that was the concept here, but that's what that always brings to mind. I find it very, very fascinating that that has carried on for generation after generation. And I don't really see a way of that getting better because most of the time, when, especially in our early to mid teens or even our late teens, where we're starting to figure things out, we're too busy knowing that we're knowing everything instead of learning so that we actually do know everything. And I always find that fascinating. But again, that's just kind of what I get out of that line. And I realize it's maybe taking it out of context of the song, but I thought it was worth mentioning anyway. And of course, we've got now the music is kicking in. And the vocals have to be mixed a little bit louder into the mix so that they can not be buried underneath of the music, which has gotten louder and more interesting. Just a very, very cool piece. And again, this is another one where I'll say this is a very, very well mixed song.
But my life,
a quick return back to the opening of the song, the way that was played there, and then it kicks into just a blistering guitar solo. This is the kind of stuff that to me is Mick Box's wheelhouse. Just that I'm in the moment playing for the song feel, not trying to be fancy, not trying to be over the top or crazy. Just this sits so beautifully and perfectly in this song. Absolutely love this solo. Another one of my favorites of his. And just some great work there.
So I stood on a ridge and shunned religion, thinking the world was mine. I made my break and a big mistake, stealing when I should have been buying. I was stealing when I should have been buying. I was stealing when I should have been buying.
For me, one of the reasons that I don't get into vocals that much or the story of the song that much, part of it I think is as a musician, but also part of it because I feel like a lot of times singers are just singing the words, that they're not really living in the moment of that story. And I remember when I met Graham Bonnet, who sang on the album Down to Earth by Rainbow. He sang with Michael Schenker Group. He sang with Alcatraz. He's done the Graham Bonnet Band. When I met him a couple of years ago, here in Las Vegas, the Graham Bonnet Band was playing. And after the show, they had this really nice surprise meet and greet. I had no idea they were going to do that. And after a show, I just sit there for a minute, and I take in the venue and I take in the experience. I don't really like to just rush out and leave right away. If the band isn't that good, I might leave early, but most of the time I just kind of take a moment and be in that atmosphere and just kind of, let what just happened wash over me and the magic of the music and the being in front of the band and all of that. So I had the chance to meet Graham and we talked for a couple of minutes. And one thing I said to him was, I said, Graham, it's not just that you have a great voice. It's that every time I hear you sing a song, whether it's the studio recording or any live version of anything I've ever heard you do, it feels like you're telling the story for the first time. And he smiled and he said, well, thank you very much. He goes, I learned a long time ago, someone told me, don't sing the lyrics, sing the story. And that's exactly what I feel like we're getting here. I feel like we're getting somebody who is in the moment of the events that are taking place around this character and singing them out of frustration, out of maybe a little bit of guilt for making bad decisions. Just saying, here's what I know I should have done, but I was trying to be a man before I was ready to be a man, that kind of thing. I really like that about this vocal and the vocal delivery. I think that's really important. There's such a distinction between having good lyrics and singing them well. And, I've talked so much about how much I love David Byron as a singer, how much I love Ken Hensley as a singer, how much I love the harmonies of the band. But the fact is you could have a great voice and not be able to sing a song well. And I really feel that this is such a top performance in the vocal section because I really feel like he's in the moment of this story. Like this is happening to him right now. And while we're taking a walk or we're running to wherever he needs to get, he's explaining to me what's happening to him right now. And that, I think, is one of the things that helps people really identify with a song and why it becomes special. Yes, the music has to be good. It has to be catchy. It has to be memorable. It has to make you feel whatever certain way you need to feel for a particular song. But really, in a case like this, where it's all about the story, this vocal delivery, had it been done differently, I don't think the song would have benefited from any other method of delivery.
When I should have been by, yeah. 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 Woo! I was when I should have been by, yeah.
So from this part on, we're back into just the rock and roll world. Now it's just about good music and following through and just accenting some things, giving the vocals a lot of room to just feel what they feel in the moment of singing the song, which I really like. Singers don't get a huge amount of chance to do that, so I like that this is a little bit extended and allowing him to kind of play around with his thoughts and feelings and whatever he wanted to put in the song from here, because we've told the story. That part's over. I really like the fact that the backing vocals really do sound like backing vocals in this part. They're backed off in the mix. They do seem to be, a good 10 feet behind the singer. Nice reverb to make them bring back that presence as if they were up front without the volume of it. That's a really nice studio trick that we use quite often, really. You dial the volume back and put a little more reverb on it to give that width and presence, but it doesn't have to be right up front in the mix at the same volume level as the lead vocal. So you're separating them. You're making them be two different things, but you're also filling in that void that you would get if you just lowered them in the mix. So it's a really good trick. It sounds fantastic here. Very well executed by the engineer. Now, I will say in this song, we have lost a lot of bass drum from what we had in the last song. I think this song could have benefited from having a little bit more of that punch and drive coming in from the bass, but the bass drum, I should be specific on that. But we've got that classic Lee Kerslake playing a lot of crashes on the snares instead of on the bass and snare. Very much his style, as we've heard so much throughout these last couple albums. And just a really solid vocal delivery. The bass is a little less adventurous in this song. It's really just keeping up that rhythm and keeping the song moving forward. There's some good moments it has in there, but certainly more straightforward of a song. But yeah, just another great song. Now, I know that this is one that I've seen in karaoke books before. I don't think I ever sang it. I don't think I know anyone who sang it. I could be mistaken, but if I did, I might have blocked it out because I don't think I'd want to hear it. You can't top this vocal performance. I can't imagine anybody remaking this song and doing a better version of it, especially in the vocal delivery, as we've talked about earlier in the episode, why I love it so much. So, it's available. I'm sure of that, but I don't recall ever hearing anyone sing it. But in any case, just a solid song. This is one of the more well-known songs that the band has done. I don't think I've heard it licensed in anything, which I'm kind of surprised at. It seems like it probably has appeared somewhere. I looked and I didn't happen to see anything on it, but I will say it certainly would be one that could be used easily in the background of a lot of different scenes in movies. It could be used for a lot of different things, but it's a well-known song, and there's good reason for it. It's just a great song, brilliantly played. I feel a lot of restraint on this song from this band, who's used to doing a lot of crazy things musically. I feel like they really just found the right pocket for this song and just didn't go too crazy. The guitar solo isn't too flashy. Nobody got crazy at the end during that vocal section. They really just made the room for the dialogue to come through. Really, really well done. Very professional song. I could see a lot of commercial likability for it, and well done, guys. Fantastic. So that's it for this song, our second song on the Sweet Freedom journey here in season 6. One of my favorites that we're taking. So that will be all for today. Tomorrow, we'll be back with another song. Make sure, too, that you guys are getting on the email list at uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. That gives you your entries into the contest. I'll be doing a drawing for something or other at the end of the month. And you're not going to get entered if you're not on that. Or If you're on the Patreon, you get double entries. The benefits just don't stop, people. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Cheers! Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!